Okay, good morning. Good morning, good morning. Welcome, glad to see you all here. I now convene the October 2022 meeting of the Executive Committee. Will the recording secretary please call the roll?
Marisol Delatorre Escobedo.
Here.
Johanna Hartwig. Here. Terry Jackson.
Here.
Bonnie Klatt.
Present.
Monica Martinez.
Here.
David Simmons.
Here.
Tina Sloan.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, wonderful. We might need the sound a little higher for our Zoom candidates if we can hear them. I don't know. Check that. All right, we have one action item before us today. Agenda item 2A is the appointment of the Educator Preparation Student Liaison. The item is being presented by Haiju Thoreau. Ms. Thoreau, please begin.
Good morning, Commissioners. The Commission's policy manual allows the Executive Committee to appoint an Educator Preparation student to serve as liaison to the Commission. An announcement for applications for the 2022 and the 2023 term was sent by email to the deans and the directors of preparation programs over several weeks, and the information was also posted on the Commission's website. The final filing date to submit the applications was July 27, 2022. However, the deadline for the position had to be extended to obtain a sufficient number of qualified candidates to interview for the vacancy. Staff worked with Commissioners Cardenas, Gross, and White-Smith to screen applications and interview finalists. The panel interviewed 6 candidates via Zoom on October 5th and 7th. A list of finalists is included in the agenda along with their essay of interest. If there are no questions for staff, I would like to let the panel provide additional information on the interviews and to give their recommendations to the Executive Committee. Thank you.
All right, commissioners from the interview panel, would you like to provide your thoughts? Oh, Commissioner Gross? Oh, on there, sorry, Commissioner Gross, thank you.
Good morning, Commission. It was a great pleasure to have the opportunity to spend time interviewing our 6 candidates. Commissioners Cardenas and Commissioner White-Smith and I all had the opportunity to meet them. They all followed. They were all asked the same questions. And, you know, the thing that struck us all is that we had 6 really diverse candidates who not only have a diverse lived experience, but they represent our diverse student experiences in the Educator Preparation Program. So we had students from the CSUs, the UCs, and private universities. And in the fall, when things are busy, there's nothing like October in the life of an educator, I think. It was really invigorating to be with new candidates, many of whom are in intern positions or residency positions, and they're living this work, they're breathing this work, they have hope in this work, and they care deeply about equity and ensuring that all students have access to quality education. And so that just filled us all with so much hope. And if we could have selected every single one, we would have. If my other panel members have some thoughts they wanted to share about our candidates before we offer our final recommendation,
I'd be happy to speak. This is Kimberly White-Smith representing the University of San Diego and our AICCU field. And I was highly impressed with the candidates. I think that they were excited and engaged. They understood the level of seriousness that this position represents as an individual who would be kind of representing the experiences, the lived experiences of the current field. I also was impressed in their ability to think about ways to engage beyond themselves. So not just representing their own personal experiences, but the desire to connect with others who have different experiences and to bring those back to help us better understand how we can better support the field. So those were my thoughts.
Thank you. Any others? Commissioner Cardenas?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo what other commissioners had mentioned as well. It just was so impressive to have all of the candidates. Just like Commissioner Gross had mentioned, if we could have selected all of them, we would have. It was just such a dynamic between each single candidate. How hopeful they were, how inspirational they were. They didn't just talk about theory; they talked about action. Most of them talked about their involvement in the community currently, as student teachers, and even before being in candidate program. But it just provided such a diverse perspective that I think for a lot of us had aha moments that we need to implement at our level when we make these decisions. So I'm excited for the next student liaison who we had selected, but for the other student liaisons that we did not, we want to make sure to find a way to keep them involved and get them connected because they are dynamic. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
All right, we will now open for public comment. If there are members of the public that would like to give a presentation, please notify the meeting moderator by submitting a request card to the recording secretary or clicking on the raised hand icon if participating through Zoom by pressing *9 if participating by phone. Recording secretary, are there any public comments?
We have no public comments.
All right. Public comment period for this item is now closed. Yeah, I know. We need a recommendation regarding a student liaison candidate. And the members of the committee.
Members.
Commissioner Gross, that you?
Yeah, so our interview committee recommends appointing Mers Tran as the Educator Prep Liaison.
Okay, wonderful. All commissioners are welcome to participate, but only an executive committee member can make a motion and vote on this item. On this note, do commissioners have any questions or comments on this item? Commissioner Clapp.
I didn't get to participate in the interviews, but just in reading the letters, the applications, we get these every year, and I can't remember reading a more just robust field of candidates. And so for anyone out there who's having any sense of distress over what we hear in the public about people wanting to become teachers, read their applications, because every one of them I read and just was so inspired, and it just gave me so much hope. So to the other candidates, I just want to echo, keep doing what you're doing, because I don't think I've seen it, like I said, a more impressive set of candidates. So it's exciting to see that commitment.
Thank you so much for reminding us of that. And these are good letters to have on our bedside tables. All right. Other comments, questions? All right. Do I have a motion to appoint? My apologies. I need to find the name of our candidate. Marissa Tran, is that right? Yes. To the Educator Preparation Student Liaison position. I'm looking. I can't see. Motion by Commissioner Klatt. Thank you. Do I have a second? Seconded by Commissioner Jackson. Will the recording secretary call for the vote? Each member please respond with aye, nay, or abstain.
Marisol De La Torre Escobedo.
Aye.
Johanna Hartwig. Terry Jackson.
Aye.
Bonnie Klatt.
Aye.
Monica Martinez.
Aye.
David Simmons.
Aye.
Tina Sloan.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Congratulations to our new student liaison, Marissa Tran. We look forward to meeting you in person. And as other commissioners have said, I want to commend the other candidates who came to our table to volunteer for this extremely important position. You have given us lots of food for thought and hope for our future, and we thank you deeply. This concludes the business of the Executive Committee. The committee is adjourned.
Chair Sloan, Megan Gross wants to get in.
Commissioner Gross.
Sorry, I just wanted to make a clarification. Our liaison's name is Mers Tran, MERS, and we're looking forward to their participation.
Thank you. And is that a misprint in the item, or is that the pronunciation?
That is the pronunciation and preferred name.
MERS.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're
MERS
welcome.
Tran. Look forward to meeting you. All right. All right. I now convene the October 13th, 14th, 2022 meeting of the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. Will the recording secretary please call the roll?
Danette Brown,
Here.
Catherine Williams Brown,
Here.
Jose Cardenas,
Present.
Juan Cruz,
Here.
Christopher Davis,
Present.
Michael De La Torre,
Present.
Marisol De La Torre Escobedo,
Here.
Anna Marie Francois,
Present.
Makita Gwynno Shire,
Present.
Megan Gross,
Present.
Johanna Harwick, Susan Aradia, Terry Jackson,
Here.
Bonnie Clatt,
Present.
Monica Martinez,
Here.
Shireen Parbury,
Present.
David Simmons.
Here.
Tina Sloan,
Here.
Kimberly White Smith.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure thing.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. I'd like to remind everyone about the meeting procedures before we get to today's agenda. This meeting is being conducted at the Commission office and via teleconference. We have commissioners participating from the Commission building and also via Zoom. And commissioners on Zoom, it's difficult to see you. You're in very small boxes. I have my glasses, but if I miss you, other commissioners will help, and please speak up. The public has the option to attend the general commission of the meeting at the Commission office or participate remotely through Zoom webcast or US toll-free phone number. With respect to microphones, for those participating from the Commission office, the microphones must be turned on before you start to speak by pushing the button and then turned off. Once you are finished, you will know the microphone is on when the indicator light shows green. The microphones for individuals who are attending via teleconference have been muted to eliminate any background noise that may hinder others from hearing what's being said. Commissioners and presenters can unmute yourself, but please mute your microphone after you are done speaking. With respect to commenting or asking questions, commissioners attending the meeting via Zoom who would like to speak, please use the raised hand feature. I will try to see it. With respect to motions and roll call, because this is a hybrid meeting, we'll need to conduct each vote by roll call. With respect to Zoom identification, we'd like to ask the members of the public who attend the meeting via Zoom and would like to make public comment to check their Zoom identification. Your Zoom identification is the name used when logging into the meeting. It's important that the Zoom identification is accurate so we can call on you appropriately during public comment. Next, we'll cover public comment procedures. The committee chair will announce when the public comment period is open during the presentation of the agenda item and ask for anyone who wishes to comment to notify the meeting moderator. Individuals who attend the meeting at the Commission office here will need to submit a request to address the Commission card to the meeting moderator. The meeting moderator will notify the individual when it's their turn to speak. At that time, the individual will be able to approach the microphone and share their comment. Individuals who join the meeting via the Zoom webcast will need to click on the raise hand icon to inform the meeting moderator that they would like to speak on the item. The moderator will notify the individual when it's their turn to speak by calling their Zoom ID. At that time, the individual will be prompted to unmute their microphone and will be able to share their comment. The Zoom ID name used by the member of the public to join the Zoom meeting will be displayed to the public when the individual provides public comment. Individuals who join the meeting through the U.S. toll-free number will need to press *9 on their phone to inform the meeting moderator that they'd like to speak on the item. The moderator will notify the individual it's their turn to speak by calling their phone number and will allow them to unmute their telephone. At that time, the individual will be prompted to press *6 and will be able to share their comment. Please note, only a partial phone number will be displayed to the public when the individual provides public comment. Each of our committee chairs will have the discretion to set a time limit on comments depending on the volume of speakers seeking to speak on a particular item. We ask that you keep your remarks brief and focused on the particular item you're speaking to. Please note this meeting is being recorded. After the meeting, the archived audio and video will be available via the Commission's website. All right. Agenda item 3A is the approval of the August 2022 minutes. We will now open for public comment. Recording Secretary, are there any public comments?
We have no public comments.
All right, the public comment period for this item is now closed. Do I have a motion to approve the August 2022 Commission meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Moved by Commissioner Davis, seconded by Commissioner Cardenas. Discussion? All right, will the recording secretary please call for the vote?
Danette Brown,
Aye.
Jose Cardenas,
Aye.
Juan Cruz,
Aye.
Christopher Davis,
Aye.
Michael De La Torre,
Aye.
Marisol De La Torre Escobedo,
Aye.
Makita Gwinnett Shire,
Aye.
Megan Gross,
Aye.
Johanna Howick,
Aye.
Susan Aradia, Terry Jackson,
Aye.
Bonnie Clark,
Aye.
Monica Martinez,
Aye.
David Simmons,
Aye.
Tina Strong.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is 3B, approval of the October 2022 agenda. We have an agenda insert 4A. Please note that we have a time certain presentation at 10 o'clock for agenda item 4A of the Educator Preparation Committee. Any general session items not completed before 10 o'clock will be continued Friday morning. We will now open for public comment. Recording Secretary, are there any public comments?
There are no public comments on this item.
All right, thank you. The public comment period for this item is now closed. Do I have a motion to approve the October 2022 agenda? So moved by Commissioner Hartwig. Do I have a second? Seconded by Commissioner Marisol De La Torre Escobedo. Discussion. All right, will the recording secretary call for the vote?
Danette Brown,
Aye.
Jose Cardenas,
Aye.
Juan Cruz,
Aye.
Christopher Davis,
Aye.
Michael De La Torre,
Aye.
Marisol De La Torre Escobedo,
Aye.
Makita Gwinnett Shire,
Aye.
Megan Gross,
Aye.
Johanna Howick,
Aye.
Susan Aradia, Terry Jackson,
Aye.
Bonnie Clark,
Aye.
Monica Martinez,
Aye.
David Simmons,
Aye.
Tina Strong.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Agenda item 3C is approval of the October 2022 consent calendar. Commissioners, some of you may have noticed that with the growing size of our commission's agenda, some routine reports have been moved to the from committee agendas to the consent calendar for commission action. If any commissioner would like to pull an item from the consent agenda for discussion, they can make that request and the item will be taken up in its appropriate committee. The items added to this consent calendar are one, the proposed Title V regulation pertaining to examination fees, as well as proposed Title V regulations pertaining to bilingual authorization educator preparation on page 25, and an update on the local solutions to the shortage of special education teachers grant programs on page 40. Please note the reasons that we have started to move these items are because, again, our agendas have become so large and our closed session has become so long. And one of the most important things we do here is in closed session, and we need to be sure that we have the time and the capacity and the energy to do so. That said, any of these items may be pulled for discussion. We will now open for public comment. Recording secretary, are there any public comments?
Public comments on this item.
All right, thank you. Public comment period for this item is now closed. Do commissioners have any items they would like to consider in closed session? Commissioner Davis.
Number 16, Jesus Roberto Caro.
All right. Other commissioners, Commissioner Klatt.
It's not an item to pull, and I'll try to do this without getting us, I think I can say this. It's just a very general comment about some of the items that are on the consent calendar. I appreciate moving them there. I just want to say again, in the spirit of celebration, there's some things to really celebrate in there. And so I won't specifically say anything so I don't get myself in trouble, but people should look there because there really was some really great information in there to celebrate. So I just wanted, am I allowed to say that?
I think that's okay.
Okay. I was trying not to be specific so I wouldn't be talking about an item we hadn't pulled.
Thank you. Are there other items commissioners would wish to consider in closed session? Commissioner Gross?
I'd like to pull number 25, Christine J. Flores, and number 36, Koff, K-A-H-F, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Others, Commissioner Cruz?
Yeah, I'd like to pull number 13, Lawrence Brown III.
Thank you. Any others? All right. Do I have a motion to approve all remaining items on the consent calendar?
Motion to approve.
Moved by Commissioner Davis. Do I have a second? Seconded by Commissioner Grano-Shire. Further discussion? All right. Will the recording secretary call for the vote?
Danette Brown,
Aye.
Jose Cardenas,
Aye.
Juan Cruz,
Aye.
Christopher Davis,
Aye.
Michael De La Torre,
Aye.
Marisol De La Torre Escobedo,
Aye.
Makita Grano-Shire,
Aye.
Megan Gross,
Aye.
Johanna Howick,
Aye.
Susan Aradia, Terry Jackson,
Aye.
Bonnie Klatt,
Aye.
Monica Martinez,
Aye.
David Simmons,
Aye.
Tina Sloan.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item 3D, Chair's comments. Commissioners know this, but I would like to be sure that the rest of our education community knows this. But our Executive Director, Dr. Mary Sandy, has been selected to receive the James A. Kelly Award for Advancing Accomplished Teaching. This is the highest award bestowed by the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards. She is joined by a tremendous list of recipients. I don't know all of them, but they are nationwide. I will name a few here. We have President Bill Clinton, Senator Arlen Specter, Governor Roy Barnes, Dr. Linda Darling Hammond, Dr. Donald Thorpe, Dr. Michael Kirst. Note a lot of those in California, aren't we lucky? President Barack Obama, former U.S. Senator Herb Kohl. I can go on, but she is in the company of a tremendous number of presidents, senators, governors, legislators, historians. Yes. And if you are unfamiliar with this award, it's very inspiring. So James A. Kelly was the founding president of the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards, and the award is given to recognize and honor individuals who provide clear, consistent, and convincing evidence of their ability to foster Mr. Kelly's legacy of accomplished teaching. There were several points that they list that illustrate his legacy, and I thought these were important to talk about. Some of these are a professional life dedicated to improving education for teachers and their students, passionate commitment to improving teaching and learning in America, an innate capacity to inspire collaboration and mobilize support that enabled unparalleled achievements in the history of American education reform, clear vision coupled with steadfast commitment and fierce determination, which has led to historic milestones in American education and meaningful impact on teaching and learning. This is heady stuff. And Dr. Sandy deserves this recognition because there is clear and convincing evidence throughout her career, and especially in her role here, that she does embody this work and that she does foster these qualities. But there's three more elements listed here in the award letter that I wanted in particular to highlight, because I think they are so essential to the quote unquote advancement of teaching. And they're so evident of the work everyone in this building is doing. Everyone sitting here today, everyone in our Zoom room, everyone who wrote letters, everyone who talked with Mary and staff are here to contribute to this work. So where we sit carrying out the work of advancing teaching involves tensions. And this is what I especially want to highlight. Mary's work, our work, is not easy. There are truths in what we do, and there are tensions in how we manage it. So James Kelly's legacy includes three more elements, as I mentioned, listed in the award letter. The first is a deep-seated belief in the inherent right of all children to a quality education. I don't need to tell you all that that is the heart and the root of what we do. With respect to how we do it, we need to know that our educators are ready to do what they need to do for what our children need. And part of how we know that is we have performance assessments that show us that, accreditation processes that show us that, standards that we expect to be met and we expect to be shown that they are met. We're constantly making sure, and we have to make sure. So this creates all kinds of tensions to navigate. Are we asking too much? When we ask to show us that you are preparing educators to provide children with a quality education? Some would say yes, some would say no. The other thing we do is the monitoring of professional conduct of our credential holders. We have to make sure our children are physically and psychologically safe in the hands of the educators that we certify, because this certification indicates to the world that the people who hold this certification are safe and trustworthy. So we have to monitor that. We do these things because we have a deep-seated belief in the inherent right of all children to have a quality education. The second point in his legacy, an unwavering dedication to the professional integrity and competence of teachers. When we read our agenda items and our new literacy standards and early childhood, the complexity of what teachers are asked to do is so apparent. It's all there, spelled out in the pages of our agenda. It's spelled out for all to see and understand and follow. Is this too much? Have we spelled out too much? How do we ensure our children are receiving a quality education if we're not clear on what our expectations are, and if we're not able to communicate that to others? How do we know that teachers are prepared to provide socially just learning spaces that each child they work with can thrive in, can access success, confidence, and joy, and a belief in the assets they bring to the classroom community? How can we know this if we don't create a program standard 4 and our new ECE standards on equity, inclusion, and diversity? We live with a significant tension between spelling out what teachers and programs should know and do and honoring their professional knowledge with autonomy to do what they do. This is a tension we live with in this room. However, I think our work in the, quote, unwavering dedication to the professional integrity and competence of teachers, unquote, requires us to understand this tension. I see us navigate this tension in several ways. Our standards, the first, are designed by educators. They come into this building and Zoom rooms almost every day to help us get it right. It's their competence that we and the profession relies on. So yes, we're dedicated to their professional integrity. Our work requires that we get this right for children, and our educators are essential to get that work right. And fostering the partnerships between a standards board and the educators and organizations who are beholden to and rely on it is a special talent of Dr. Mary Sandy. She's been instrumental in creating new and sustained opportunities for educators to shape the work of educators. Finally, the last quality that they list in this letter: visionary and boundless energy, eternal optimism, and expert leadership. Mary knows every standard in the items presented in this agenda and every agenda. She talks to everyone about them. She helps edit. She sits in on work groups and meetings of our constituencies, and she learns more about them. But leaders of a large organization like the Commission can't know everything. They have to rely on their staff and education partners and commissioners, which she does, with vision, boundless energy, optimism, and expert leadership. And we, and the educators we uphold, deserve strong and just vision and eternal optimism. You could never do what you do, walking into classrooms every day, without this optimism. And that optimism sure gets challenged a lot. We know that. Boundless energy might seem elusive to some of you at the moment, and for many of our educators. But for others looking in, parents, people in other professions who say, I could never do that, they probably see your energy as boundless. Teachers are 100% some of the busiest people I know. They don't stop, they can't stop. But we know your energy is not boundless. We know you are tired after your Herculean efforts during our pandemic, which is still now in the form it's in now. So we'll conduct our work today under the leadership of an amazing leader and person, and with the collective expertise and heart that we bring with us to this room. And we will continue to navigate the tensions as best we can by listening to our professionals. Because our work is to advance teaching in the belief that all children have an inherent right to a quality education. Before I turn it over to our executive director to make her comments, I just have one more announcement that I need to make. And it is with a great deal of, sadness, and that I tell you all that I will need to step off the commission after our December meeting for a variety of reasons. So we'll talk about it then, but I wanted to give you a heads up. All right. Okay, so I now turn it over to Executive Director Mary Sandy.
I wish I had gone first. Thank you, Madam Chair, for that incredible statement. And I am I'm deeply humbled and incredibly honored to receive this award and to do this work. Never in my dreams did I expect to be on a list of these luminaries. And to be honored and recognized by the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards, for me, is the highest honor, maybe second only to being recognized here in this moment with all of you. So thank you for that, and thank you to the National Board for making this happen. So, and Madam Chair, I think we'll save our longer conversations about your contributions to the agency and this commission's work for December, but they have been significant, and this staff has benefited incredibly from your leadership, from your insight into the work that is deep and broad and wide. So it's with very mixed feelings that we let you go, as if we have a choice. So with that, I would like to just let you know, the budget that we are in this year has given the commission some wonderful opportunities here to grow the size of our staff and to grow the scope of our work. I have three introductions that I'd like to make to you, and I don't know whether they are in the room or on Zoom. They're both in the room and on Zoom. Okay. As I call your name, maybe you will stand for just a moment. You don't have to stand through the whole introduction, but as I call your name, wave or in some way indicate where we will see you. So first off, I'd like to introduce Rosemary Wren. She's online, okay, and there she is. Hello, Rosemary. Rosemary Wren has joined the Professional Services Division staff as a consultant working in our accreditation area. She comes from a family of educators. Both of her parents, her two sisters, and even her youngest daughter are teachers. She began teaching fourth grade in 1988 in Los Angeles at a school for hard of hearing students and has since taught pretty much every level from preschool through college. Mentored at Seeds University Elementary School at UCLA by Sharon Sutton, Rosemary has had the privilege of working in spaces where student-centered, multi-age, and project-based learning design were the rule rather than the exception. As a university supervisor and later as faculty in teacher preparation, Rosemary has guided her students and candidates in how to incorporate these culturally sustaining, anti-bias, and anti-racist teaching practices into the foundation of their teacher preparation journey. In 2021, Rosemary completed her doctorate in educational leadership at Fresno State with an emphasis in social justice. Through the lenses of critical race, feminist, and Black feminist theory, Rosemary's research interests include preparing future and current teachers to navigate critical conversations about identity and race, and to consider these elements in their decisions about curriculum and pedagogy. Additional research interests include recruiting and retaining more teacher candidates who hold diverse identities, ethnic studies in K-12, and representation in children's literature. Just prior to joining the team at the commission, Rosemary served at Cuesta Community College as lead faculty in education, co-creator and facilitator of the Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Academy, and equity trainer for distance education, and has served on multiple committees. At Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, she worked as a university supervisor in the School of Education and as faculty in liberal studies. She holds a BA in Russian Studies with a minor in political science from UC San Diego and a Master of Education from UCLA. Rosemary grew up in Long Beach and has lived on the Central Coast of California since 1993, where her 3 adult children grew up. Rosemary, we are delighted to welcome you to the Professional Services Division and the Commission staff, and thank you. Yes, there we go. Thank you for being here. So second up is Frances Martinez Kellar, who has also joined the Bruce. Please stand for a moment. Hello, Frances. You don't have to stay standing. Frances has also joined the Professional Services Division staff in the accreditation area. So Dr. Kellar comes to the Professional Services Division beginning her 16th year of serving in public education with a professional background that spans a variety of educational contexts and sectors in California. Frances began her career in 2006 as a high school English teacher at William Workman High School in Hacienda La Puente Unified, where she taught college prep, AP, and AVID courses for grades 9 through 12. She has also worked in programmatic assessment and evaluation, both as an external evaluator and applied researcher for grant-funded programs for several private and public universities and colleges in California, and as a consultant supporting induction program development for local education agencies, charter schools, and private and independent institutions as a consultant with the notable nonprofit New Teacher Center. In one of her key formative professional experiences, Frances served as Director of New Teacher Support, spearheading induction and early career teacher development for the largest regional charter management organization in Los Angeles, Alliance College Ready Public Schools, where she built a comprehensive and robust professional learning, onboarding, and induction experience for the network's early career teacher cohorts. A conscientious coach with a focus on beginning teacher support, Frances has dedicated the last 8 years of her professional and academic work supporting institutions of higher education and local education agencies across California in developing, codifying, and monitoring program elements that support early career teacher development from onboarding to induction and beyond. Frances earned her doctorate in educational psychology and urban school leadership from the University of Southern California, her master's in education and preliminary single subject credential from Claremont Graduate University, and her bachelor's in English and world literature from Pitzer College. Frances, welcome, welcome. Third and final introduction of the morning will be Renee Marshall, who is no stranger to this table. Renee Marshall is joining the Professional Services Division staff as our new administrator for early childhood education. She has served in the field of education for over 25 years. Renee taught preschool at the UC Santa Cruz Lab School and taught elementary school in both the Hollister School District and the Castaic Union School District. Within California's community college system, Renee served as early childhood education and education adjunct faculty, full-time faculty, and department chair. Renee served as the director of teacher preparation at College of the Canyons for over a decade as the regional lead of teacher preparation for the South Central coastal region. And during Education Futures funding, she acted as the statewide lead of the California Community College's teacher preparation programs. Renee brings a developmental lens and perspective to her work, supporting both higher education and the PK-12 education systems. Renee earned a bachelor's degree in psychology from UC Santa Cruz, a Master of Arts in Education from UC Santa Cruz, and a Master of Arts with distinction in Education Administration and Policy Studies from California State University, Northridge. Please join me in welcoming Renee Marshall to the team. So I introduced these three new members of the Professional Services Division staff because they will be coming to your table, and I'd like you to recognize them when they come. But there have been many. The staff has been deep at work in recruiting to fill positions, and we are, as hard as it is right now for state government to find staff, and it's a very competitive market right now. As you can tell, we are bringing in some very, very well-prepared people to help us do this work and to move it forward in ways that are really of high import to this commission. So you will see the rest as they come on board. What I'd just like to say about this agenda is that we have had a very full agenda for this year. This whole year has really pushed the boundaries of our time together. Because a lot of work has been coming to fruition. A lot of work has been in the incubator for a long time. And we're very pleased to bring some very good work to you today for your consideration of potential adoption. And Chair Sloan, as you indicated, our work does not work and does not get done without the collaboration and engagement of our education partners. And we're deeply grateful for all of the time and effort and thought that the communities that we work with have brought to this work. And I'm deeply grateful to the staff for they have a deep appetite for this type of collaboration. Checking our ideas, checking our thinking, and securing the ideas and thinking of others is what we think makes the product we bring to you as strong as it can be. So that's been a lot of what we've been doing this year, is collaborating, working, and trying to bring to these really important points of adoption and consideration the work that's before you today. So wishing a good meeting on us all, and that ends my report.
Thank you, Mary, and welcome to all of our new staff. What an impressive set of credentials. They're going to be in good hands. All right, do any commissioners have items to report? Commissioner Davis.
Good morning, everyone. I wanted to first start off by saying congratulations to Dr. Sandy and to Mersh Tran and our new staff members. Well-deserved honors for everyone. And I wanted to give a report from the field. My affiliation with the NBRC, the National Board Resource Center at Stanford, has yielded a grant in a unique partnership with CTA and NEA, where we have gotten together some of the most talented BIPOC teachers across the state of California, and we brought them together in a support network, or a support group rather, to support them through their national board process. So this is the second year of the grant funding. So we have about 40 teachers in our network, and very proud of all their efforts, but also a little bit of history. I went through the Stanford program as well, seeking my national board certification. And as you know, with national board, it's a cycle. So you just keep going once you're in it, right? So you may certify, but you're just constantly in the loop to recertify. And so I was the only African-American male there in the room 5 years ago when I started my process. And one of the other African-American faces, her name is Silver White. She's a facilitator there, and she called me over and we talked for a second, and she goes, "Have you noticed something about this space?" And I looked around and I said, "No, I didn't really notice, because I've been studying and doing stuff." But when I looked up, I saw that I was the only person of color in the room. And so it was stark and daunting for me I felt like I was carrying the weight of a lot of folks in that space, and representing people who look like me. So one of the things that I decided to do is stay and not leave like a lot of the other candidates did, because of that lack of diversity. And she and I talked about how we could harness our own energies between the two of us and start a program. And we started in the East Bay with Oakland teachers, teachers from Berkeley, teachers from the Northeast Bay of California. And we had about 20 to 30 teachers in that group. And then we just kept trying to figure out, how do we make this a viable cohort group through Stanford. And our partners at CTA and NEA came along, and they helped us out with funding, and we appreciate that partnership. So I wanted to say thank you to our partners, and congratulations to all of the candidates that were just recently selected in our candidate pool.
Fabulous. Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Other commissioners? Sorry, tell me if somebody in there is. Commissioner Brown.
Briefly, welcome, staff members. It's so exciting to have you here. Congratulations. I'm really looking forward to having a next door neighbor of our new student liaison. They so inform our work. And congratulations. I can't think of anyone else that deserves it better, and we're lucky to have you. I just wanted to quickly say on the community college piece, we've been looking very carefully at what's been going on in legislation. We really have we have both a governor and a legislature that are really willing to focus on education. And some of the things are directly involved with us, and some indirectly involve us and are meaningful. And one of them is looking at a common, I know this sounds small, but I'm just going to say it, a common numbering system across the institutions of higher education, so that students aren't so confused about which courses they should take, where and when, and which courses work for them to move them forward through their preparation. I'm saying teacher preparation, but through their higher education. So that focus on general ed transfer, as well as the associate degrees for transfer at the community colleges, is essential. And then with a continued focus on equity, it is interesting and exciting, and I'm really glad that the commission and the governor and the legislature are willing to focus on our youngest citizens in the early childhood field. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Other commissioners have items to report. Commissioner Marisol.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Congratulations to Director Sandy, and welcome to our new staff, and I'll save my comments for Madam Chair Sloan for our December meeting. I know we'll have a lot of them then. But I'm going to steal Commissioner Davis's line where he said a report from the field. I have a report from my classroom. I started teaching ethnic studies at my school 3 years ago when it started, and it's just been an absolute joy being one of the teachers creating and teaching the course. And we just finished our Hmong American Studies unit, and in Butte County, we have a large Hmong community. So it was important for us to, really get this unit right. We reviewed how the Hmong migrated from Southeast Asia to the United States, how instrumental they were in helping the United States during the Vietnam War, and also focused on their determination in creating, their lives here in the United States. At the end of the unit, I asked my students to reflect on their learning and why Hmong history is so significant to the understanding of our country. And I want to share some of their reflections. One student said, "I'm glad I got to learn about the Hmong community because a couple of days ago, I had no idea they even existed." Another student said, "They're a part of America too. It should be important to learn about everybody and the places they come from to get a better understanding of people." One student framed a question here: why are the Hmong people not commonly talked about in schools at all? And then this next one was from one of my seniors who had already taken AP US history. They said, "I know enough about Nixon. We should learn more about the Hmong and how they helped the United States during the secret war, the Vietnam War." And we know in the standards, Nixon gets a lot of airtime in there when it comes to Vietnam. So, with that said, I just want to thank all our ethnic studies teachers, county offices of education, just all the key players involved in building our ethnic studies courses as it's unfolding throughout California. Thank you.
Thank you. Messages from classrooms are always the best. Appreciate that. Other commissioners have items to report? No? On the screen? All right. Do any liaisons have items to report? Okay. Day.
Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, everyone. And Chair Sloan, my heart hurts, but we'll talk about it in December. You have been we'll talk about it in December because I'm going to start getting teary here. And Executive Director Sandy, congratulations. You embody every principle of James Kelly's legacy. And I, reading every single point that Commissioner or Chairwoman Sloan just shared, it's you. And thank you so much for all of your dedication to teachers and to California students, because it is navigating a lot of moving parts, and you do it so beautifully. So congratulations again. And commissioners, I have a few state board and program updates for you today. First, as of September, we have a fully appointed State Board of Education. I went from being a newbie to a veteran in just a few months. In September, the board heard an update on the state and federal accountability systems, including the reminder that this fall brings the return and publication of the California School Dashboard. The SBE gave CDE feedback on the dashboard principles, and these will be approved at the November meeting. The board reviewed the way the English learner student is defined and heard from Dr. Kenji Hakuda on the history of and considerations around EL data collection. The board took action to amend the eligibility criteria for differentiated assistance based on the 2022 dashboard data, and approved including links to teacher assignment data and science results in the dashboard, including links to the teacher assignment data in the dashboard is made possible because of CTC's CalSAS system and close collaboration between CTC and CDE referenced in item 6A. Now, when families look up their school or district, they'll be able to see how many teachers are fully credentialed as compared to their county and state averages. As LEAs consider their educator staffing challenges, there are opportunities to plan ahead. And one very exciting initiative is the Middle School Foundation Academies. There are planning grants available through CDE to establish high-quality career technical education pathways, including 4 educator pathways. This program provides $75,000 for 3 middle school career academies. Applications are due by November 11th. In the world of community schools, according to a board memo on August 1st, on November 1st, the CDE will be posting the second round of community schools planning grants for LEAs for community schools. Those who don't have community schools yet. The 2022-23 school year is the last year planning grants will be allocated. So please spread the word. We know how effective community schools are and what a difference they can make in our students' lives and in our communities. So please get the word out. Thank you so much. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Ida, and thank you for nominating Director Sandy for the James A. Kelly Award. All right, Commissioner Whitesmith.
Good morning, colleagues. I want to just recognize that we are towards the end of Hispanic Heritage Month. And in recognition of that celebration, I wanted to again just raise awareness about AICCU institutions. We're the private, independent, not-for-profit institutions. And about 74% of all of our institutions are Hispanic serving or emerging Hispanic serving institutions. And that might be something that folks are not aware of. Also, about half of our students are also first generation college going. And I think I've mentioned before that we credential about half of the teachers in the state of California. I also want to recognize all of my private colleagues that have developed Spanish-English dual language programming, both in the counselor education, school psych arenas, as well as teacher prep. So I just wanted to give my colleagues a shout out for their work in that area, and also just to raise the awareness of the makeup of our institutions. One other update that I wanted to give here is that next week we'll be having the California Council for Teacher Education meeting here in San Diego, and I'm looking forward to connecting with colleagues across all 3 of our sectors, as well as the PK-12 arena, as we join to think more deeply about how to impact educational attainment for all students. Lastly, I just wanted to proudly announce that the University of San Diego's School of Leadership and Education Sciences has developed a partnership with the San Diego Foundation and the Black Investment Education Fund to collaborate with colleagues at USC to build a pathway of excellence for Black students here in San Diego that mirrors the neighborhood academic initiative that they have there at USC. So it's not a surprise. We know the unfortunate statistics that Black educational attainment continues to lose ground in the state of California. And we're looking for ways and efforts and partnerships to really address that lack of gain and to start moving it in another direction. So those are my updates. Thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioner Whitesmith. Any other liaisons have items to report? I don't think we have any other liaisons. All right. So we are coming up on 10 o'clock. Good timing. However, really quick, I would like to acknowledge that we have a special birthday in the room. Commissioner Hartwig, happy birthday. And I'd also like to acknowledge that I was remiss, our August meeting was also held on somebody's birthday, our executive director. So in a show of our boundless energy, let's do a really quick happy birthday song to both of them. Are you ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joanna and Larry. Happy birthday to you. Fabulous. All right, with that, I now recess the general session and move to the Educator Preparation Committee. Commissioner Martinez is in via Zoom, so Commissioner Grenoshire has graciously agreed to chair the committee today. Commissioner Grenoshire, will you please convene the committee?
Thank you. I will try and fill the very large shoes of Commissioner Martinez. I'd like to call the October 2022 meeting of the Educator Preparation Committee to order. We have 5 agenda items. 3 of the items are scheduled for today and 2 more on Friday. The first item today is 4A, proposed adoption of literacy standards and teaching performance expectations pursuant to Senate Bill 488. This item is being presented by Nancy Brynelson, Roxanne Purdue, and Heather Kennedy. This is an action item. Ms. Purdue, will you please begin? Well, none of that counted then. Everyone heard it in here, but I guess not out there. All right, so good morning, commissioners. You have before you today item 4A, proposed adoption of literacy standards and teaching performance expectations pursuant to Senate Bill 488 for your consideration. This slide that is in front of you, does it switching? I said today would be the day to be nervous after 21 years with the commission. Too many cameras. All right. Look, so I gave you an overview of Senate Bill 488, but because you've had it so many times so far, we gave you a really, really brief overview of just the main points. So if you go ahead and take a look in your item on pages 1 and 2, it delineates for you all of Senate Bill 488 for your enjoyment. But here we have that the commission's required to complete a series of actions related to literacy instruction for 488. And of those, probably the largest items that are at our attention today are the update of the program standards, the teaching performance expectations to ensure alignment with the current State Board of Education adopted English Language Arts, English Language Development Framework, and to incorporate the California Dyslexia Guidelines. And finally, to develop and implement the literacy instruction performance assessment by July 1st, 2025. And some people are already calling it the LPA. So I just wanted to give you a new acronym for your day. There we go. So we had a work group, and you've heard about them, in August when we talked about them, a little bit about their job. They're available for you in Appendix F, the members of the work group, the experts that we had come forward for us. And they work with us on multiple credentials. So the multiple subject credential, the single subject credential, the proposed PK3 ECE specialist instruction credential and the education specialist mild moderate support needs and extensive support needs credentials. They gave us recommendations for additions and revisions to standards and teaching performance expectations for our consideration in accordance with SB 488. So everything they did with the lens towards SB 488 because they knew they needed to align. Their work was extensive. They met 4 times, May through September, full days each time. And they were just so collaborative and professional with it. And they enjoyed working together on this project. And it's a vast project and it's important in literacy, and to have a team of people that were so dedicated to work with was really inspiring.
Thank you, Roxanne.
Heather?
At the August Commission meeting, preliminary results from the field review surveys for the multiple subject, single subject, education specialist, mild to moderate support needs, and extensive support needs, and the proposed PK3 ECE specialist instruction credentials were presented. Input for education specialist for early childhood special education, deaf and hard of hearing, and visual impairment credentials were conducted in a focus group setting with experts from the field along with CTC staff. Surveys for the multiple subject, single subject, education specialist, mild to moderate support needs and extensive support needs, and the proposed PK3 ECE specialist instruction credentials opened in July with rolling start dates, and they concluded for all 3 credentials on September 2nd. Along with the Likert scale rating questions, respondents also had an opportunity to provide open-ended comments. Results from the multiple subject, single subject survey are summarized in the agenda item in Appendix E, with full Likert scale results from all 3 surveys available in a Google document. In reviewing the open-ended comments for the multiple subject, single subject proposed program standard in TPE Domain 7, several themes emerged. Comments listed here appeared most frequently across the 3 credential areas and with the same or similar wording. For example, the comment "use terms structured literacy, at risk for and with dyslexia, and sound symbol correspondences" appeared across the 3 credential areas and with similar wording in the comments sections. Here we have additional comments repeated across the 3 credential areas that had same or similar wording in the open-ended comment sections related to students who are multilingual or English learners. These comments indicate the unique themes that emerged in the multiple subject, single subject, open-ended comments. To break up long sentences and paragraphs, clarify wording, clarify differences between multiple subject and single subject requirements and between younger and older children, address disabilities beyond dyslexia, such as our low incidence areas, and address inclusion, collaboration, and assistive technology. The SB 488 work group that was convened did not have sufficient background to address the low incidence areas of early childhood special education, deaf and hard of hearing, and visual impairment, and experts in these areas were consulted through focus groups to further develop the literacy program standard and TPEs for these areas. Through these meetings and expert input, it became clear that additional time was necessary and that each of these low incidence areas will require a unique literacy program standard that is separate from the education specialist, mild to moderate support needs, and extensive support needs literacy program standard. This will address their specific credential area needs, such as addressing phonology for students who are deaf for DHH credential candidates, addressing literacy skills in Braille for VI credential candidates, and developing literacy through the naturalistic environment in early childhood special education. CTC staff will continue to work with focus groups and experts to revise these drafts.
Good morning.
I'll turn it over to Nancy.
Thank you. Good morning. I'd like to turn our attention now to the standards themselves and the TPEs and remind you of their structure. And then I'll address some of the revisions we made to answer the comments that were submitted in the field survey, as well as in various meetings that we've had. We have a literacy program standard for each of the 3 types of credentials, and they are unique. However, they're based on the same structure with the same core information. So it starts with an introduction and some overarching concepts, which I'll come back to in just a moment. That section is actually rather substantial, and it applies to all that follows. Then within the standard, we addressed each of the cross-cutting themes of the ELA-ELD framework. There's a section for foundational skills, meaning making, language development, effective expression, and content knowledge. And we talked a bit about those at our meeting in August. And then there's sections for literacy instruction for students or children with disabilities, integrated and designated English language development, and finally, a few words about the literacy teaching performance expectations and clinical practice. So that is the structure of all 3 of the literacy standards that you have before you in appendices B, C, and D. Moving on then to the teaching performance expectations. We also crafted, and the work group reviewed and gave us wonderful advice on these documents. What has happened is we have added a standard, the program standard that we just looked at, as well as we've added a domain to the teaching performance expectations that already exist. So domain 7, effective literacy instruction for all students. So for the multiple subject and single subject credential candidates, there are 11 TPE elements that we're calling the universal literacy TPE elements. You see then for education specialists, mild to moderate support needs, we have the same 11 elements and then 5 unique elements for MMSN. Then for education specialist extensive support needs, the same 11 and 7 unique TPE elements for this particular credential. For the proposed PK3 ECE specialist instruction credential, we used the 11 universal TPEs, but modified them to be appropriate for this unique setting. So that gives you an idea of the structure of what we have for both the standard and the TPEs. One of the things we were concerned about was making sure that in developing these documents, we were addressing all the requirements of SB 488. And to do that, and we shared with you a preliminary draft of our crosswalks at the last meeting. We updated those. They're available to you in Appendix A, and compared the multiple and single subject program standard, literally paragraph by paragraph. So in the left-hand column, we have the requirements of SB 488 that are addressed within each of the paragraphs of the standard. And then we also have a crosswalk for you for the teaching performance expectations for multiple and single subject. So we compare the elements and really to reassure ourselves and all of our constituents that we had addressed each of those requirements. I want to just step back for a moment because I said that I would say a bit more about the overarching concepts of the program standards. All of this work is not only situated within SB 488, but within current policy related to literacy in California education. So the program standard and the TPEs acknowledge the role of the academic content standards for students. So we have the English language arts and literacy standards, the English language development standards, also the preschool learning foundations. The ELD framework then was another sort of touchstone for us in terms of what we were going to reflect in the standards and TPEs. In addition, we addressed elements of the California Comprehensive State Literacy Plan, and you'll see that in the standards and addressing all of those elements, concepts such as universal design for learning, a multi-tier system of support, asset-based pedagogies, the California Dyslexia Guidelines, integrated and designated ELD, and a number of other elements within the Comprehensive Literacy Plan. Why was this important? Because we need to make sure that as teachers are prepared to teach literacy to California's youngsters, that all of our efforts are coherent and that they align with what the California Department of Education is doing and what districts and schools are expected to do. All right, so moving on then to the revisions we made after all of the surveys were received, and we had lots of consultation with constituents and all of our work group meetings. Our final drafts were revised and are available for you in appendices B, C, and D. We do have an insert, which I'll talk about momentarily, with a few more revisions. What you see that's different from our last meeting is we reorganized paragraphs to try to reduce redundancy and to simplify the structure of the standard, but still within the framework of the overall structure that I outlined for you. Tried to simplify sentences and be just more direct. We had lots of comments and requests from our partners in the dyslexia community, and we addressed many of those requests. Similarly, we had many requests and comments related to multilingual and English learner students and multilingual programs, and we addressed many of those requests throughout. Moving on, there were a number of concepts, and I alluded to some of these already, that we either elevated or expanded in the final drafts based on the comments that we received. I already mentioned UDL. Inclusion was something else that was mentioned specifically. Making sure that we made clear instruction for very young children, pre-kindergarten children. Beefing up what we had to say about motivation, student choice, student self-assessment, digital literacy and technology. Expanding what we had to say about writing. So it wasn't just formal writing, but also informal writing, writing for various purposes. Making the connections across those themes clearer and how they work together and are integrated. Emphasizing collaboration among educators across disciplines and how they work together to support children and students. And including what is also in many of the CDE initiatives and in the state literacy plans, social emotional learning, trauma-informed practices. And then, as we indicated in the comments that Heather shared with you, making sure that low incidence disabilities, that disabilities beyond dyslexia were clearly indicated. We also work to clarify, and we're continuing to work to clarify the concepts in the final drafts. So specifically, what is applicable to whom? Different grades and different age groups. How does literacy shift from the very beginning levels? Terminology for foundational skills. For example, we actually added more to these already very long standards to be more specific. So fluency, not just saying fluency, but text reading fluency, and also including the 3 major components. Accuracy, which requires automaticity and a very robust program in which students learn to decode, the rate at which children read, and also prosody or expression, which is an indicator of how well students are understanding. We clarified the connection between decoding, being able to read the word on the page, and encoding, which is writing the words, in connection with beginning letter formation and teaching that directly, and fluency in handwriting and spelling. Also clarified deep reading and how that's connected, features of language development, the role of keyboarding. There are standards for students to keyboard accurately. Looking at requirements for clinical practice, field with diverse learners, and then find integrated and designated ELP. Next slide. We did receive comments since we published the agenda that some items were still unclear within our standard TPE. And so we did clarify a few ideas since then. In the TPE specifically, we used a term integrated content and literacy instruction, by which we mean that what single subject teachers teach not in English, so other than English. So in teaching history, we're expecting the integration of literacy within the teaching of history or science or mathematics. That was clarified on the page numbers that you see in the item, in the insert that was provided for you. There was a request to expand attention to home languages and dialects. So you see those page numbers. There was some, we have reworked the section a few times to clarify foundational skills and text reading fluency relative to things that you don't normally think of necessarily, at least within the way the standards are organized, as foundational skills. So spelling and syllable patterns, semantics or vocabulary, morphology and syntax or structure of sentences and language. All of these come into play. They're really an outgrowth or a continuation of learning the foundational skills, and particularly as students encounter complex text at higher levels. And then finally, clarifying the definition of structured literacy. So what you have in appendices B, C, and D, with the addition of the particular pages in the insert where we've made changes, and those are indicated in tracking for you in red, are what we're presenting to you today as you consider the staff recommendations for action.
Okay.
Thank you. Next slide.
Staff recommendations for action are available in your item on page 5, as well as in front of you on the slide. I'm going to recommend you look at the slide though, because we had to tweak just a little bit on the recommendation based on your insert. So that the commission adopt proposed literacy program standards and TPEs for the preliminary multiple subject and single subject credentials, preliminary education specialists, mild moderate support needs and extensive support needs credentials, and proposed PK3 early childhood education specialist instruction credential, including the addendum presented in today's meeting. That the commission require that all commission approved multiple subject, single subject, and education specialist credentials transition to the new literacy standards by July 1st, 2024. That all new PK3 ECE specialist credentials to be approved beginning in 2023 must demonstrate alignment to the new literacy standards and TPEs. That all new multiple subject, single subject, and education specialist programs must demonstrate alignment to the new literacy standards and TPEs. That the commission directs staff to continue the development of program standards and TPEs for the preliminary education specialists, low incidence areas of early childhood special education, deaf and hard of hearing, and visual impairments. Thank you. Now for next steps. Should you choose to approve the proposed literacy program standards and TPEs, our timeframe for implementation includes technical assistance for certification of programs and development of literacy performance assessment. All the next steps are provided for you on pages 6 and 7 of your item. I won't read them all off to you because they've been in your prior items as well. But some on our final next step slide, you'll see that the commission's currently adopted TPEs for multiple subject, single subject, and its specialist credentials include Part 2 subject-specific pedagogy literacy TPEs. And they were revised and adopted in 2019 and added to Part 2. If adopted, the proposed program standards and TPEs in this item would replace the 2019 literacy TPEs beginning July 1st, 2024. Finally, the literacy performance assessment would become operational July 1st, 2025, as specified in statute. And with that, we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that very comprehensive presentation and all the work that has come heretofore. We will now open for public comment. If there are members of the public that would like to give a presentation, please notify the meeting moderator by submitting a request card or clicking on the raised hand icon if participating through Zoom, or pressing *9 if participating by phone. Recording secretary, are there any public comments?
Yes. Kelly Reynolds, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Good morning, Kelly Reynolds, Senior Policy Analyst for Early Edge California. Early Edge appreciates the Commission's efforts to provide opportunities for the field to provide input on the P3 credential and the literacy performance assessments. We support these items and appreciate the Commission's work to be inclusive of all stakeholder feedback. The literacy performance assessment development will be crucial to ensuring educators are well prepared. As the Commission puts together the design team who will work on the LPAs, it is important that the team include individuals with experience in early literacy and dual language learners to ensure multilingual learners are best served. We appreciate the additional language that focuses on DLLs, dual language learners, and would like to see additional language emphasizing the use of the home language. We look forward to continue work with the Commission and the Department of Education to develop a P3 credential and ECE teacher pathways that support home language development and literacy. Thank you for your continued work on this critical issue and for the opportunity to provide public comment.
Manuel Buenrostro, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Good morning, members of the Commission. This is Manuel Buenrostro with Californians Together, and I'm just calling to show the appreciation for all of the work of the staff, commissioners, and for incorporating a lot of the feedback and addressing some of the concerns that our coalition has had throughout the process. We continue to support a comprehensive literacy approach that covers all of the themes in the ELA/ELD framework, and we're happy that those are within the draft that we're looking at. One ask that we do have is, as the design team that is going to be working on the TPAs is selected, we want to make sure that there are members of that team that have expertise in education for English learners and multilingual students. Thank you again, and we look forward to continuing to be engaged in this process.
We have no additional requests for public comment.
Thank you. The public comment period for this item is now closed. Do commissioners have any questions or comments on this item? Commissioner Brown.
Thank you very much for continuing to work on this really comprehensive, detailed work. I commend you all. I have 3 general questions, and they're all focused on the proposed PK3 ECE specialist instruction credential. The first question, and I'm just not a literacy expert, comes on page 4. When looking at that paragraph about the proposed, there's a comment to highlight the role of reciprocity of reading and writing, as well as the role of prosody in comprehend. I just don't know what that is, and I just wondered if you could, if I don't need a course in it, but I just wondered what it meant.
Yeah. Nancy, did you want to take that one?
Yes, I'll address that one. And I was just want to make sure I'm turning to the page where you are. Can you just tell me one more time the section that you're referring to?
Sure. Yes, because it's a big section. I have it as EPC 4A-4. So it's up at the front where you're describing you have multiple subject and then ed specialist and then proposed PK3. It's one paragraph just before the literacy program standards and teaching performance expectations. So I have it as page 4.
Got it. Okay. So what we're talking about in terms of prosody is a function of fluency. So when a child is reading a passage, child would be timed. And also it would be noted how accurately the child was reading, but also whether or not the child is reading with appropriate expression, intonation, pausing at commas, pausing at periods, that sort of thing. So, and it's an indication of, are they really, do they know what they're reading? You know, or it's just, so it's another element of text reading fluency. Does that answer the question?
Yes, that answers it. I'm just thinking of 4-year-olds right now, but I should think of the 3 to 8 because that's what this credential's about.
Right. And again, that's something that we're measuring, you know, after children have been through initial instruction and decoding and they're reading passages. So clearly we're not looking at that, but we're modeling prosody for young children. That's the whole beauty of the read aloud, is we're, you know, reading with expression, we're emphasizing certain words so that the text comes alive for them.
And that developmentally appropriate process that is then modeled by young children in reading a book that they're familiar with. Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you. My second question, I just have 3. My second question was about the literacy work group itself. There's that's a significant work group, 25 people. And I just wondered as I looked at it, which of those people were the pre to 3 experts? I mean, it's a lot clearer with special education and also with DLL and MLLs. It was a little less clear.
I can address that. You might notice Marissa Luna Lopez. She was a member of the pre-K 3 ECE work group. She clearly has that expertise. She's a professor. Hallie Yop Slowick is well known for her work at the pre-K level. She is also a professor. The teachers we had were elementary and secondary, so we did not have classroom teachers who represented the pre-K level, but we had a number of individuals. Also, I would point to Pam Spiescher as someone who has a lot of experience working at the very early years.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. And then my third question had to do, and this is, I think, on page like 82, almost at the end. As I was looking at the different tables, I noticed that, and I just needed some clarification. I see that for the PK3 ECE specialist respondents, it says that there were 101, but then as I looked at the table 16, my arithmetic is 35. So I just wondered if you could clarify what happened to the 101 respondents in tables 16 and 17, the 101, because I didn't get maybe that was my arithmetic, but I was missing the rest of them.
Heather, might you address that?
Yes, I'm looking at that right now. So on table 17, that was a question that not all respondents had to answer. So it wasn't a required question. That we had 101 total respondents for the PK to 3 ECE survey. So for
the table 17, the 101 could answer it, and there were 36 responses.
Correct.
Okay, and then table 16?
And then table 16, hold on just one second. Let me pull
again,
up
was that self-report? So that's why the number's so small?
On that one, they could select more than one option.
Mm-hmm.
And just give me one moment to pull up another window.
Commissioner Brown, may I just, while staff is tracking that down, I wonder if we can get back to that once staff has had a chance to.
Oh yeah, that's fine. I was just curious when you say there's 101 people that have answered, and I'm seeing that there's only 35 responses. I
appreciate the question.
I wanted to know where the rest of them were. All right, that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. I see my colleagues on Zoom, and I didn't see the order in which you came up, so let's just do it alphabetically. Commissioner Brown, Commissioner Francois, and then Commissioner Gross.
Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to start out by saying I had the privilege of being the commission liaison to the last meeting of this amazing work group. And I wanted to just extend my sincere appreciation to the members of this work group. They were clearly experts in the field that had all come together in service of a common goal. And it was remarkable to see the level of thoughtfulness and dialogue that everyone engaged in to bring the best possible product to you today. The members were extraordinary. Additionally, the staff were so responsive to not only the members that were working on the committee, but all the comments from all the educational partners, and responsive in such a a speedy way. It was amazing to see what would happen over our 5-minute bathroom break. So I want to extend my appreciation to all of the staff. One thing that was present, in that meeting throughout was the members and the staff had really developed this amazing culture of collaboration, and a safe environment for everyone to share their thoughts, their feelings, their expertise. So with that, I wanted to kind of go a little bit further and confess that I've been a fan of this work for many years. And if we were in my office, I would hold up my folder that I keep as a memento of the 2017 RECA meeting at the CTC building. And the reason I say that is because I feel like this is such a great day to celebrate the fruition of the work of so many people since 2017. I also had the privilege of participating in that 2019 literacy expert panel to really start thinking about what those standards might look like. And the product that is before us today, I feel like just masterfully has woven together these threads of all these guidance documents that we have in the state that as a reading specialist practitioner for over 15 years, I use on the daily. I wanted to recognize that all of these guidance documents we're talking thousands of pages of guidance. When you look at the student standards, the framework, we looked at the EL roadmap, we looked at the preschool foundations, we looked at so many things, and so many amazing people really synthesized that information and distilled it down and wove those threads into this beautiful tapestry that's presented to us today that incorporates so many important things. Because as we know, literacy instruction, I always say hashtag it's complicated. It's a lot of things woven together. And so I'm really excited to see this come before us today. As someone who works every single day with students, as a reading specialist, this document reflects what I'm doing every single day. And that's exciting. I feel like it's real, it's genuine, it's timely. And I'm really excited to have this before us today to move the work forward. In conclusion, I just wanted to echo a comment that I made at the last meeting, and I know some other commissioners had made some comments surrounding, is really about the next steps. And I know in our agenda item, the next step is for the design team to come together and start talking about what I heard it might be called the LPA, that literacy performance assessment. I just want us to be mindful because this document is huge and robust, and everything that goes into literacy instruction is a lot. And as we move forward with this performance assessment, I just want us all to be mindful about what we want the outcome to be, because we've heard at our commission table, many times about how we don't want to create additional barriers, that we are well-intentioned with our assessments, but sometimes we didn't get it just right because it may be perceived to do the opposite of what we're intending to do. So as we move this work forward, I just want to be mindful that this performance assessment is for teacher candidates who are just at beginning, just coming out of a preparation program, and how we understand how they might show mastery might be different than me, who's been working for over 18 years as a reading specialist. So I just want to be mindful of that as we move the work forward. Thank you. Congratulations. Great work.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Francois?
Thank you. Good morning, fellow commissioners. I want to extend a warm welcome to our new commission staff members. And Mary, just heartfelt congratulations to you. I will not go farther down that road because I will get emotional and we will never get through this agenda item. I too want to thank the commission staff and the expert work group for taking on this task with such energy and enthusiasm. I can only imagine what those 4 meetings looked like. As Commissioner Brown just stated, this was really complex and nuanced work. And I really appreciated the depth and breadth and complexity of the work. I appreciated the crosswalk, which was very helpful in helping me to understand the connections between what was and what will become, what will be. It's really quite remarkable. I also want to thank the staff for the presentation. Oftentimes when we read these agenda items, they're quite long. There are a lot of links. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I get lost in the weeds of it. And to lift up the most salient points in this lengthy and important agenda item really helped me to refocus this morning. And so I really appreciate the work that went into the presentation. I also want to point out that I noticed that the language of this agenda item and the work you've done really reflects the Commission's commitment to ensuring that the teachers across our state have the content knowledge and pedagogical skills needed to support our diverse student population. And this is really reflected in the expanded and elevated concepts that were presented to us by Ms. Brinelson. I'm sorry, I've never said your last name correctly, but I will get it right at some point. You know, I noticed that there are a number of written comments and clearly some public comments this morning related to the inclusion of expertise in dual language, English learners, multilingual learners, as well as connections to the bilingual authorization standard. And I'm wondering if the staff might give us a little bit of insight into the discussions that took place among staff and work group members in these areas. Is this an appropriate time to just give us a little bit of a taste of how those discussions were taken up?
Ms.
Well, I can.
Do you want to take that? Go ahead, Nancy.
I'll start and then my colleagues can jump in. One of the things that you've seen in the document is a very robust treatment of English language development, both integrated and designated. And so there was a lot of talk about, you know, how much of that should be there and the commitment to addressing what is required for multilingual and English learner students, a la the ELA, ELD framework. So that is a result of those conversations and a commitment to addressing the elements of the state's literacy plan and that framework. In addition, we had lots of comments about multilingual programming, dual language learners within dual language immersion programs, et cetera, and exactly how much of that was going to be reflected. We did make references to, we talk about promoting multiliteracy, promoting translanguaging within the classroom, honoring students' languages and dialects in an asset-based approach. But more than that, promoting multilingualism within all settings, both English medium as well as in multilingual programming. So the references are to the the bilingual authorization and partnering with that, because there's additional expertise that's not necessarily reflected here in these documents for teachers who are going to be specifically teaching in a dual language immersion program or other bilingual education program. But we see these as very complementary and fitting together. I don't know, Roxanne or Heather, if you have other insights to add to that.
I think when we were forming our group, it was a feature we were all concerned with, making sure we had enough expertise in the area to encompass the topic well, to have those rich and deep conversations that we wanted to have on that topic. The questionnaire that we had for picking out our expert work group encompassed bilingual areas, information about their background with working in ELD, and we just ensured that our work groups were well balanced.
I was going to say we also referenced the bilingual authorization program standards and TPEs and TPE 7 8.3, and it's there as a footnote as another document that is in connection with this. And that was definitely looked at alongside this. That was a huge part of the discussions in the work group with how we are incorporating the needs of literacy for students who are multilingual and English learners. And I think that that was at the huge forefront of the discussion in the groups that we were having every time we revised these documents and met with our group.
Also, the group, we talked about the 4 times they met and how it was 4 full days, and we talked about 25 people and the activities that we had to organize for that, but they also gave themselves up to at least a week's worth of homework every single time before a meeting of reading. We talked about the documents, they're thousands of pages long. So they put a lot of effort into this, not just the day that they stood in front of us.
Thank you for that. Again, tremendous work. Thank you so much for all of your efforts to bring this broad field into some kind of cohesion that really reflects our contemporary thinking about literacy within a diverse state. It kind of blows my mind a little bit. So thank you.
Commissioner Gross.
Thank you. This is really exciting to see the universal standards across our credential programs, and I want to echo our previous commissioners' appreciation for this report and your presentation. As you were going through, I was stuck in a moment reflecting back to Chair Sloan's introduction this morning about the truth and the tension that lies within our work, and looking at that we have 11 universal TPEs, and then for our ed specialists, we have 11 plus 5 if you're mild to moderate support needs. If you're extensive support needs, you have 11 plus 7. And just reflecting on the complexity of learning how to teach reading, and the amount and kind of what are our expectations of first-year teachers. How does this work get embedded through induction and ongoing learning? And so I'm just sitting with that a little bit as I think about the current intern teachers that I teach at night, and the first year teachers that I support as education specialists. And so as I sit with that, I'm wondering if within the next 2 years of technical assistance that are provided to programs, if there might be some resources or opportunities to create kind of candidate-facing videos. For example, in just the program standard for meaning making, what does it look like to include a student who utilizes an AAC assistive technology device to be able to demonstrate literal and inferential comprehension? That way we can aid our candidates, because not all of them have access to fieldwork placements that address a student with that need, but they more than likely will in their career. And nor do programs necessarily have those devices for students to play with and to really explore, how do I use this tool? So I'm just wondering, out loud, how do we support our candidates and not just have them kind of at, it requires our preparation programs to sign up for technical assistance, right? And candidates don't get a choice of whether or not their programs do that. So just thinking about how we support our candidates in this process. And I just think there are, especially our new teachers, right? They're of a generation of YouTubers, and they learn it by watching it. And so I would love for us to consider that if that's a possibility.
Thank Commissioner Heredia.
Thank you. Wow, when I read this was not, you can't read this in just one time. You've got to go back and highlight, and come back to things on this item, but appreciate much of all the hard work. I mean, I looked at this and I thought, oh my gosh, could I have sat all those hours reading and compiling information, thinking. So I'm really appreciative of the members who served on this committee. So I like, like Commissioner Brown, kind of always look at to see who worked on these committees. That's the first thing I go to, and then I look for people that I know in the field, and and so on this one, in the area that I was concerned about, I did see people that had that expertise. So I know that CTC will work. We'll work hard to make sure that the work group, the next group, is really diverse and has this background. But I wanted to go back to something that Nancy talked about, and I think is so critical, because I think people don't distinguish the notion of dual language versus ELD, and having that representation, because ELD is someone in the classroom working to help a child or a student gain the proficiency in English, making meaning, but and also expanding their vocabulary, the academic language needed. And in dual language, you're working with students who are immersed in a language. If you're doing a 90-10 approach to the dual language, and there's a different set of skills that you have to use, and different thought process and different pedagogy. Where in ELD, you go back to in the old days, we looked at the stages of language acquisition, the Jim Cummins approach to, and understanding. And there was another person who I'm missing too on that. So I just want to make sure that the individuals have that expertise and that understanding in working, who will be representative on that committee. And Nancy, thank you for your comments about this, because this, when I think about assessment, this is going to be a huge endeavor in terms of this. I think, oh God, if I was a candidate, I really have to give pause to think, how much is going to be required of me initially, like Commissioner Gross said, what will be required initially, and then what can be acquired after they leave the classroom. It's just, I just appreciate new teachers and credential programs, because there's so much to learn. It's just such a body of information that you have to acquire. And in my own credential programs, it was 3 semesters as opposed to 2 semesters. And now we've, got it down to 2 semesters. So anyway, again, thank you. And, I just look forward to hearing back the report again on this, and appreciate all the time and the hard work that went into this.
Executive Director Sandy to talk a little bit about the TA issue and request.
Absolutely. And this is such a good conversation, and such a, what a product for us as a commission, for you as a commission to engage around. This standard and set of performance expectations for literacy put a premium on and a high expectation for teacher preparation programs within their curriculum. And that was part of the intent of this bill, was to make sure that across the board, teacher preparation was attending to these matters very clearly and very specifically. That said, every teacher preparation program in the state is offering reading methods courses. They're doing that already. Many of them are offering to and attaching ELD coursework along with it within a variety of methods. So teacher preparation, this isn't hitting teacher preparation cold. It's hitting them pretty warm, but bringing focus and attention to what needs to happen in preparation, and introducing new terms to some of us who appreciate learning a new word a day. And thank you, Nancy, for explaining those words to us. It will be really quite critical that we engage the field. Once these standards are adopted, we engage with the teacher preparation community and bring the expertise together to move beyond process. What do you need to do to update your program? But into a community of practice around what's the reset. that this standard introduces for programs. And that may be large and it may be small, depending on the program and how deeply in this work they've been. But it's a huge opportunity for us over the next 2 years to work with the teacher preparation faculty across all of these credential areas to unpack and go deep. And we really look forward to putting together some kind of facilitated, organized community of practice opportunities to dig in just this way. The other thing I would just like to highlight is that, and I started my comment here with this putting a premium, this standard and performance expectations describes what we in accreditation will need to be looking for when we go in for accreditation site visits and looking at program documentation, et cetera. And standards and performance expectations tie together. The standard for preparation says this needs to be in the scope of your coursework in preparing candidates and in your field work and clinical practice for preparing candidates so that they can meet the teaching performance expectations in this area. That has to drive and frame the curriculum. These are design principles for curriculum, if you will. The performance assessment by its nature is a synthesis of what you know so that you can demonstrate it in a fairly well-structured set of tasks so that you can demonstrate that you have been prepared in this full scope and you can bring it to bear on real instruction where you're planning instruction. You are demonstrating your ability to engage students in meaningful learning opportunities. You are assessing how your students are doing, and you're taking the feedback that gives you into your teaching practice and applying it to what's going to happen next. Plan, teach, assess, reflect, apply. That is what performance assessment is about. It is not a comprehensive encyclopedic test like the RICA currently is. All right. So performance assessment will depend upon intensive preparation occurring based on these standards and based on programs building assessments into their methods courses that are course assessments that are helping candidates understand where they are in relation to meeting performance expectations. And the TPA, or the literacy performance assessment that will come along over the next 2 years, it needs to capture a synthesis of that is sufficient for us to know that a candidate has been prepared and can demonstrate that preparation through meaningful practice-based portfolio development, if you will, and demonstration of their work. I just wanted to put that out there so that we're not all expecting a performance assessment that does a 100% across the board, every single element here is assessed. Performance assessment is different than that. And the legislature, when they brought us SB 148 or 488, we had many conversations within the communities of practice and with legislative staff about the difference between a standardized test, RICA, and a performance assessment. So these things, preparation and real focus on preparation with a performance assessment that is a synthesis that captures it, is really the essence of what is before us.
And that is why she got that award, because your remarks really demonstrate your content knowledge, your vision, your expertise, and your experience and your advocacy for this work. So I saw Commissioner Simmons raise his hand. I'm mindful of time. Do we have time for one more remark? Okay, go for it.
Well, I would like to make a motion.
Oh, thank you.
But before that, I have to know what I'm moving. I know what ECSE is, and I know what ECES is. But what is ESCE?
A little typo.
Cool. Good.
I laughed when I said it. Did that help? You know, it was a typo.
Yes.
And we were trying to not use as many acronyms, and so I was saying them out loud, and then I was trying to say it out loud, and it was the wrong acronym. And
So do I have a motion that the commission adopt the proposed literacy program standards and TPEs for the multiple subject and single subject credentials Education Specialist Credential, and proposed PK through 3 ECE Specialist Credential.
Yes.
I have a motion. I have a motion by Commissioner Simmons. Do I have a second? Yes, Commissioner, or Madam Chair. Further discussion, and I'm checking the Zoom. Okay. Will the recording secretary call for the vote? Each member please respond with aye, nay, or abstain.
Jeanette Brown,
Aye.
Jose Cardenas,
Aye.
Juan Cruz,
Aye.
Christopher Davis,
Aye.
Michael De La Torre,
Aye.
Marisol De La Torre Escobedo,
Aye.
Makita Quino Shire,
Aye.
Megan Gross,
Aye.
Johanna Harwick,
Aye.
Susan Aradia,
Aye.
Harry Jackson,
Aye.
Bonnie Clark,
Aye.
Monica Martinez,
Aye.
David Simmons,
Aye.
Tina Sloan.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And might I add unanimously. Let me end this item by again thanking the staff and our consultants and all the commissioners for your really thoughtful comments. Madam Chair, it is 11:05. What would you like to do?
Let's take a break, 10 minutes. Or maybe we can make it to 11:20. How's that? All right, 11:20?
We're gonna get started. Please take a seat. Can you hear me? All right, colleagues. It is 11:23. It is our goal to get through 4B before we take a lunch break. So I just want you to be mindful of that. Next, we have item 4B, the adoption of teaching performance expectations and program standards for the PK3 Early Childhood Education Specialist Instruction Credential. This item is being presented by Phyllis Jacobson and Renee Marshall, who I'm so happy to have you sitting there. This is an action item. Dr. Jacobson, will you please begin?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. At the August meeting, you approved the authorization statement and credential requirements for the PK3 ECE Specialist Credential. This agenda item continues our focus on the importance of a well-prepared early childhood workforce for California, consistent with the direction in the state's master plan for early learning and care to develop a PK3 credential, and responsive to the urgent need for preparing additional ECE teachers to support the statewide implementation of Universal Transitional Kindergarten, or UTPK, as called for in the governor's budget. Today, we are asking you to consider approval of the program preconditions, program standards, and teaching performance expectations, or TPEs, for this credential in order to create new sections 80067.1, .2, and .3, respectively, of Title V of the California Code of Regulations. The draft program standards and TPEs were previously presented for information at the April and the June 2022 Commission meetings. Appendix A on page 9 of the item provides the history of this work, including prior actions taken by the Commission. These preconditions, program standards, and TPEs have been organized for ease of reference into a handbook provided as Appendix B of the agenda item. Between the June meeting and today, staff have obtained additional feedback from the field concerning the draft program standards and TPEs and have made modifications based on that feedback. These modifications are more fully described on page 6 of the item and include further emphasis on areas such as focusing on content knowledge consistent with the Preschool Learning Foundations and Framework and the K-3 student standards, particularly in mathematics and the mathematics framework, teaching multilingual learners, demonstration of the ability to apply knowledge of child development and early childhood education within clinical practice settings, and developmentally appropriate practices that span preschool through grade 3, including play-based learning opportunities, among several other focus areas. An additional suggestion received just recently is that within draft program standard 4, which is the standard of equity, inclusion, and diversity, that the concepts of race and ethnicity be added to the list of specific areas of focus to be addressed within coursework and clinical practice experiences, and we ask for the Commission's consideration of that potential inclusion. New literacy TPEs, along with a new literacy program standard pursuant to SB 488, are now included in the draft documents provided in the handbook in Appendix B. These will be updated to match the additional revisions to the literacy standard and TPEs that you just adopted in Agenda Item 4A. Also included are a new program standard and TPEs for mathematics instruction. Because of the importance of mathematics along with literacy as essential gateway skills for all children to access the curriculum. As stated in the item, mounting evidence indicates that young children's mathematical knowledge is critical to later academic achievement, and opportunities to learn math can help children develop executive functions such as self-regulation, working memory, and attention, which are skills very important to both social and academic development. The proposed mathematics standard, which is Program Standard 8, draws on and aligns with the principles and practices within the state-adopted preschool learning foundations and K-3 mathematics standards, as well as with both the foundational concepts provided in the landmark National 2015 report, Transforming the Workforce Birth through 8, and recent research in the effective teaching of mathematics to young children. Reference to this research are provided in the handbook in Appendix C. Mathematics content, as specified in the preschool learning foundations and the K-3 mathematics standards, are outlined in Appendix D of the handbook. All of the edits made to both the program standards and the TPEs since the June 2022 Commission meeting, including but not limited to the literacy and mathematics standards and TPEs, are shown in track changes in the handbook in Appendix B. Several commenters have also indicated support for promoting bilingual pathways for the PK3 ECE Specialist Instruction Credential. Staff notes that candidates may add a bilingual authorization to this credential, and that program sponsors may offer bilingual preparation options for PK3 Specialist Instruction Credential candidates. And with that, staff recommends that the Commission adopt the proposed preparation program preconditions, program standards, and teaching performance expectations for the PK3 ECE Specialist Instruction Credential, and approve the language as new regulations to create Title V regulations sections 80067.1, .2, and .3, respectively. If the Commission approves the staff recommendation, staff would work to implement the activities within the timeline shown on page 7 of the agenda item. And these include continuing to engage with the field and communities of interest about this new PK3 ECE Specialist Instruction Credential, providing informational sessions to the field about the requirements for the credential, providing information to potential preparation program sponsors about program models and options along with technical assistance, information about how to respond to the program standards, and last but not least, continuing the development to work on the PK3 ECE Cal TPA Teaching Performance Assessment. This concludes our formal presentation, and we are happy to respond to questions.
Thank you, Dr. Jacobson. We will now open for public comment. If there are members of the public that would like to give a presentation, please notify the meeting moderator by submitting a request card or clicking on the raised hand icon if participating through Zoom, or pressing *9 if participating by phone. We're going to limit public comments to 1 minute each. Recording secretary, are there any public comments?
Yes, we'll start with the public comments online. Melissa Figueroa, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Good morning. I'm Melissa Figuera, Director of Research at the Education Trust West. On behalf of the Education Trust West, I'd like to thank the Commission for its continued work to develop the framework for the pre-K through 3 credential and consider stakeholder input to ensure children of color and dual language learners have educators who are prepared to support their needs and nurture their talents. We support the greater flexibility for candidates to meet the clinical practice requirements, to reduce barriers for current early educators to earn the credential, although we wonder about how experience will be verified for early learning settings that closed during the pandemic. We also appreciate the attention to teaching children foundational mathematics in the revised standards and TPEs, since we know math is an equity issue, especially for girls and girls of color in pursuing STEM. Finally, we're glad to see the recognition of multilingual learners in the modifications of the TPEs, and we greatly appreciate the emphasis placed on children's cultural assets and hope that the emphasis includes not just responding to, but truly affirming children's culture. Thank you for your hard work in making a PK through 3 credential a reality in California. We look forward to continuing to work with you.
Buon Rostro, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Hi again, this is Manuel Bonrostro with Californians Together. And we just appreciate, again, the work of the commission and staff for the additional language around teaching multilingual learners. We appreciate the additional assets-based language, emphasizing the value that each child brings into the classroom, including cultural and language assets, and the additional options that candidates can take to meet the required clinical practice hours. We see this as a great opportunity to expand the connections between the early childhood education and elementary education worlds. And as this happens, I just want to make sure that we continue to emphasize the need for candidates that are getting this new PK3 EC credential to also have the option to attain a bilingual authorization. And we hope that discussions in the future focus on what guidance and additional supports can be provided to programs so that they can offer that bilingual authorization in conjunction with this credential and other credentials. Thank you.
Mute your microphone and share your comment.
Was that me? I'm sorry, Jan Fish? Great. Hi, I'm Jan Fish, co-lead of Teach. I want to thank the commission too for including and highlighting the teaching of multilingual learners, as well as the collaborative two-way partnerships with families and guardians that makes that elevation of family, home language, and culture elevated in the classroom. That asset-based goal then can be met. One concern I have is that clinical practice from the community college and the baccalaureate are not yet cited to be included as prior clinical practice that can be counted. Thank you very much.
Notes, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Good morning, Kelly Reynolds, Senior Policy Analyst for Early Edge California. As mentioned in our previous public comment on item 4A, we appreciate all of the Commission's work on the PK3 Specialist Credential and the efforts to be inclusive of field feedback. As DLLs represent more than 60% of our state's children from birth to 5, it's critical that we ensure that the PK3 Specialist Credential prepares and supports educators meeting the needs of dual language learners. We are glad to see that professional development plan for interns includes instructional methods for teaching multilingual children. And while we appreciate the inclusion and focus on multilingual learners in the TPEs, we also ask that the Commission support pathways for credential candidates to attain a bilingual authorization. We must ensure that we provide funding and support for teachers to obtain their bilingual authorization through more programs like the 2016 Bilingual Teacher Professional Development Program to ensure that they can serve in bilingual settings and support children's bilingual development. Lastly, we support the inclusion of the math TPEs, as we know that early exposure to math is a foundation for a child's future. Thank you for continued work on these issues.
Nancy Hurlbut, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Hi, I'm Nancy Hurlbut. I'm an emeritus professor at Cal Poly Pomona, co-lead of Peach and coordinating lead of CalBAC's Early Childhood. I have been advocating for a PK3 credential in California for years and was coordinator of such a credential at Oklahoma State University. I am pleased to see that one is being approved at CTC. However, many of us in the early childhood teaching profession field have repeated multiple concerns on what is being proposed here. I hope in the future we can reevaluate what we have done here so that the preconditions TPE standards presented herein can be modified to be less of a push down of multiple subjects credential and more of a true revisioning of what is needed to offer higher level, developmentally appropriate practices and the best teachers for our youngest children. Thank you for giving me an opportunity.
Please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Hi, this is Todd Collins from the California Reading Coalition. Teaching reading is arguably the most fundamental purpose of education and the foundation of our children's future. We need to be sure that new PK through 3 teachers have been trained on evidence-based literacy. That's the core intent of SB 488, which your commission has indicated that it intends to fully honor. That intent must be embodied in the new literacy teaching performance assessment that will replace the RECA. CTC has repeatedly assured the public that this new PK through credential would not lower the bar versus multiple subject teachers at the same level. That's great, and we support that. We must build the reading expertise of our early grade teachers. Please require that all new teachers can demonstrate through a literacy TPA that they've been effectively trained to teach literacy to our kids. Thanks for the opportunity to comment, and thanks for all you do for California's 6 million students.
Megan Potente, please unmute your microphone and share your comment. Please unmute your microphone, Megan, and share your comment. We are not able to hear you, Megan. We'll go to the next public comment and try to come back to Megan. Denise Kennedy, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Hi, thank you so much for the opportunity. Denise Kennedy, Early Childhood Studies at Cal Poly Pomona and also a member of Peach. And I too have been working on trying to get this credential in California for many years. And I just have a call to action for the commission to include on a commission as well as work groups, true experts in the field of early childhood education, especially at the four-year universities, where we encompass the breadth, the depth, and the rigor that has been invalidated here. We offer language and literacy at an upper division level, as well as several STEM courses that are taught from a multilingual perspective. And we would hope to see early childhood education pushed up through third grade rather than what we are seeing proposed here, which we feel could have a negative impact on children and families in this state. Thank you.
You on the line, Megan? We'll go to the next. Lori DePole, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Hi, I'm Lori DePole with the Co-State Director of Decoding Dyslexia California. Today is a historical day in California. For the first time ever, our literacy standards have incorporated the California Dyslexia Guidelines, including the importance of early screening for reading risk and early intervention using structured literacy approach to instruction. I also want to congratulate both CTC staff and the SB 488 work group on accomplishing the parity across credential types and both improving literacy standards and teaching performance and expectations, as well as the requirement that candidates demonstrate knowledge of literacy instruction through the passage of a literacy TPA. Thank you so much for the hard work that was involved in accomplishing all that has been done today.
Next, we'll go to Stephen Profiter. I'm sorry. I should know that.
Good morning. Stephen Profiter, Director of the Early Education Division at the California Department of Education, on behalf of the State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tony Thurman, in support of the PK3 credential. First, we wanted to share some context and some appreciation for the inclusion of the preschool learning foundations in the TPEs, as the preschool learning foundations are developmentally appropriate for an increasing younger group of children entering our transitional kindergarten programs. And sharing some updates on the preschool learning foundations. We are updating, not overhauling, the preschool learning foundations. They will remain developmentally appropriate. The revision is to align the updates to the research on early childhood education and children's development trajectories. Statute supports the use of the preschool learning foundations in our transitional kindergarten programs, as curriculum is intended to be based on those. And as we see from data, we know that school districts, charter schools implementing TK are doing so. So in conclusion, appreciate the alignment and in here to support the adoption of the PK3 credential.
Harold Acord.
Hello, my name is Harold Acord. I'm speaking on behalf of the 300,000 members of the California Teachers Association. We appreciate the hard work and effort that has gone into this item and the collaborative effort that has gone in the work with CTA and with the CTC, us working together as partners. We truly appreciate that collaborative work. We want to point out that you should have received a letter from our president, Toby Boyd, that has more information in there than what I'm going to go over in 1 minute. And please do reference that letter. There was input from our credentials and professional development and early childhood committees at our State Council of Education. And please do check that information out. We really appreciate the equity, inclusion, and diversity standard 4. And we really think that's important work going forward and that we need to include that more in the future. And then we are concerned with program standards 6 and 7 as they relate to our ongoing concern with the effect of teacher performance teacher performance assessments on teacher preparation. And so if you please could reference that, we'd appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Maeva Mark.
Good morning. Bonjour, buenos dias, comment allez? My name is Maeva Mark, and I am with Credential. I'm a former preschool teacher, kindergarten teacher, first, second, and third grade teacher. And today I just want to say thank you to the CTC staff, the workforce, the work group, and all the partners involved in developing the standards for this PK3 credential. We are definitely in support of the addition of standard 8 regarding math instruction in PK3 settings as part of the credentialing program. We know that math, when children learn math in early childhood, early childhood setting, it creates a foundation for them, and it has proven that their math skills for future achievement. As someone who has math trauma, I'm so excited to see this. Okay. Thank you so much. Good day.
Hello, my name is Kareem Weaver. I am a member of the Oakland NAACP, but I'm speaking as an individual today. I'm a longtime teacher and educator. An earlier speaker mentioned standards 6 and 7 having some concerns. This is a big deal from a civil rights perspective. We're kind of doing away with the RICA. Okay, fine. But teachers, we don't mind showing what we know, that we can teach a kid to read. And what usually happens when we remove things like that, some sort of a performance assessment, that those folks who have not had to cross some sort of a bar mandated by the state, they end up in the places to serve the most vulnerable of our kids without fail. We please, for California's most vulnerable students who need it the most, let's make sure that all of our educators have shown some sort of mastery over foundational basic skills around reading and have been assessed by the state on that. Thank you very much.
Tony Ayala, please unmute your microphone and share your comment. We'll go to the next. Megan Frankie, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Thank you very much, everyone. I'm Megan Frankie. I'm a professor at UCLA, longtime math educator in the state of California. Very excited about the opportunities that are being made available as a part of the PK3 state credential. As some of our former folks have in the comment section have indicated, this is a civil rights issue. This is about trying to challenge inequality in the state of California and more broadly. We do need to try and meet the needs of our young people. I think it's really important to recognize that there's lots of research evidence that our young people come to school with tremendous amounts of knowledge, and that it's our job to foster the curiosity and knowledge that and that we can do that as a state. So I just want to finish by saying that we have folks across the state in 109 teacher educators in preschool, pre-service education working with us right now, and in 70 2-year and 4-year colleges that are working on preparing preschool teachers in this way. We have the capacity in this state to do this and do this well. Thank you.
Rachel Hurd, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Hello, my name is Rachel Hurd, and I am a trustee for the San Ramon Valley Unified School District, but I am calling today speaking for myself. I am very much supportive of this effort. I've been watching the whole process with the SB 488 work group, and I'm particularly in support of standards 6 and 7. It is critical that new teachers who will teach our youngest students are fully ready to teach reading and writing to the youngest learners. It can't be left to individual school districts to finish their preparation. I urge the commissioners to adopt these TPEs and standards. Thank you so much.
Able to unmute your microphone and share your comment?
I am. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Great. So my name is Tony Ayala. I'm a full-time instructor of child development and family studies, as well as vice president of public policy for California Early Childhood Educators and a PEACH steering committee member. As presented today, I agree that the work of the commission is of truth, tension, and also compromise. And I understand the challenge of creating multiple pathways to complete this credential. I hope that this is seen as an opportunity for the commission to track both which pathways to completion are actually taken, as well as the effectiveness of the outcomes of those chosen pathways. The field of early childhood education has followed these choices nationally and hope that California intends to track the outcomes of the decisions that are made here today.
Megan Potente, are you able to unmute your microphone?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Great.
hear you.
Thank you. So my name is Megan Potente. I'm co-state director for Decoding Dyslexia California. And we are just so appreciative of all the work of the commission on this PK3 credential. And we urge you today to adopt the standards and TPAs as presented. Early literacy is just is critical to lifelong success, and we must ensure that teachers enter the classroom prepared to teach kids to read, all kids. The commission has reassured the public that in creating this new credential, that it would not, create a different pathway to achieve the same position in classrooms. It will not lower expectations for what teachers need to know, and we expect. We really need parity to make sure all PK3 teachers are ready for the critical work, ensuring access to the right to read for all children. Thank you.
Liza Finkelstein, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Hi, my name is Liza Finkelstein. I am the co-founder of Fulcrum, but today I want to speak as a former high school teacher in Hunters Point in San Francisco. I was teaching a class called Academic Literacy, and we were supposed to be teaching comprehension strategies. But what I found was that over half of my students didn't know how to read proficiently at all. I had no idea what to do. And as I have entered the work of early literacy, I realize I have now finally found that the most important thing that we could possibly do is to prepare all teachers, especially early literacy instructors, in methodologies that work in structured literacy. And they are capable of and also want to be equipped with methods that work.
Jessica Sacco.
Hello, Jessica Sacco on behalf of Children Now. There has been and continues to be robust research on the impact of early learning. We know from this research the critical importance of high quality early learning experiences, and that participation in a high quality early learning experiences is what leads to improved outcomes for kids, including literacy, numeracy, scientific literacy, graduation rates, and preparation and participation in higher education. We also know from research that it's the teacher in the classroom that can have the most significant impact on a child's education. It is for these reasons and more that Children Now is here in support of the proposed PK3 program standards and teacher performance expectations. I offer one small significant change, which is to consider the use of the words culturally sustaining or culturally proficient in lieu of culturally relevant, as this has significant meaning. And on behalf of Children Now and the California STEM Network, I strongly support the adoption of the TPEs and program standards for effective math instruction, as well as the robust treatment for the needs of multilingual learners, family engagement, and play-based instruction. Thank you.
We have no additional requests for public comment.
Thank you. The public comment period for this item is now closed. Do my commissioners, not my commissioners, do my fellow commissioners have any questions or comments on this item? Commissioner Simmons.
I just want to say thank you to the staff and to all of the educational community that came together and put this in. I think it's just it's astounding, and it's about time. Of the teachers that work for my school district that are currently in preschool, half of them have bachelor's degrees and have already sought to enroll in CSU CI's program for this credential, and the other half who do not have bachelor's degrees have enrolled in CSU CI to get a bachelor's degree. So I think this will have a amazing professionalizing impact on our early childhood workers, and also will almost double their pay, which I think is another important piece of this. And every one of them are a woman of color. So I think that this will help us also diversify the profession. So there's really no downside to this. And I just want to, again, extend my appreciation to staff for making this happen.
Thank you. And thank you for that reminder of the impact that this is going to have right now on the field. Commissioner Pavry? And then Commissioner Davis.
Everyone, thank you so much. Firstly, thank you to the staff and to the multiple stakeholders who have weighed in with so much passion and commitment to really help us to provide the best teaching credential for our youngest of learners. It's going to give them such a strong start. We in the CSU are really excited about launching these programs. And as Commissioner Simmons just said, we have some programs already ready to go to meet this incredible need in the state. I do have two really small operational kinds of questions. One going to page 15 of the preconditions document that speaks to undergraduate student enrollment. And I just, I'm not sure I understand what the intent or the meaning of that is. It says undergraduate students of any campus of the California State University or the University of California shall be allowed to enroll in any professional preparation course. And I'm not quite sure I understand the intent because, you know, these professional preparation courses might have prerequisites. They may be structured at different levels. They could be at the graduate level. So that's my first question.
Yes. Can you repeat which one you're talking about?
Page 15, the precondition on undergraduate student enrollment.
Sure. Thank you. I have it handy. Great. So when we looked at the preconditions and tried to figure out which preconditions are applicable to this credential, we sort of looked at three big buckets of things. The first was there's a section of Ed Code called Ed Code 44320, which is the broad Ed Code section that applies to all preparation programs, regardless of what kind. This is one of those that is embedded in that Ed Code section. We also looked at obviously the Title V regulations that you approved last meeting and which items need to go in the preconditions for those. So things like the completion requirements or the insurance requirements. So those became preconditions as well. And then of course we looked at where in the multiple single subject it's commission policy and where those would be appropriate if modified for the preconditions for this particular PK3 credential. So this one that you're particularly talking about is an Ed Code requirement. And that is this one here that talks about assessing, which one, tell me which one it is again, I'm sorry. 3, undergraduate student enrollment. Yes, so that is exactly what the Ed Code section requires. And I think what it does is it just means that you must allow a candidate to take courses. Does not mean that you have to accept them into your program, but that's my understanding of that particular Ed Code section.
I think Chair Sloan wanted to weigh in on this question.
Thank you for bringing it up, Commissioner Pavry. I had the same question, and so I looked up Ed Code, and I looked at our previous preconditions, and it's there. They're there as well. I don't know how I missed it.
Right.
But when I
And I think you're absolutely right, Cheryl, when you said the intention is to offer it. And we might want to just think about that in our wording, because I looked up Ed Code and it says professional preparation, including student teaching, shall be made available in the upper division course offerings at all California public institutions of higher learning. And I just shall be made available is different. And the reason, I think, as we know, that there are prerequisites to some of our courses. There's a developmental sequence of learning to teach that's embedded within our standards, et cetera. It can't be that anyone can pop in, right? So, but there are courses that all of our public institutions need to make available to upper division students. And
okay, so you would suggest a modification of that wording so that it says so that it mirrors that Ed Code section.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks, Commissioner Sloan. So yes, I think a clarification there, then probably some education of the field as well as to what is allowed and what isn't.
Okay.
This will raise a lot of questions.
Sure.
My second question then had to do with the TPA. When we look at the timeline and the commission is on a really short timeline, we've been encouraging faculty to sign up to review, to be peer reviewers as well for when programs do come to the commission. So we could potentially have programs starting up in fall of 2023. The TPA is not anticipated to be available till fall of 2025. Could you speak a little bit to what the interim step will be then for the candidates who will be in the pipeline?
Yes, and I will also invite our Deputy Director to chime in on this with me as well. But in the period until that second TPA option becomes available, we would be using the multiple subject TPA, but conducted in a PK to 3 classroom setting. So the tasks and the responses would be focusing on the curriculum that is being taught in those classes, and that would form the basis for the experiences, the clinical practice experiences, and completing the tasks of the multiple subject TPA adapted to that setting. And then I'll let Amy add what she would like.
Any follow-up? Okay. Commissioner Davis.
Thank you. Thank you to the staff and work groups for all the hard work, especially on agenda items 4A and 4B, especially the addition of the language updates, such as culturally responsive language, teaching language, which would never be an acronym because we don't want to CRT that. Asset-based learning, and thank you for the addition of standard 4, the equity, diversity, and inclusion standard. It is a very good day indeed to see these changes and updates in the document. Also, I wanted to not shift focus from our discussion, but one of the commenters who called in mentioned girls and girls of color instead of something like girls, especially girls of color. And I've noticed that a lot of folks who call into the commission or write to the commission sort of other groups of diverse people rather than including them, and they're using them as sort of like a prop to make their point. And I think it loses its value when you don't use words like especially. So language matters. So if you speak of diversity to make your points, please do not other the group you intend to highlight, because it loses its luster. Your comments lose their luster. Thank you.
Thank you for that reminder that language matters. It does indeed. Commissioner Heredia?
Sure, this is on. There it goes. Amy, can you go back and just explain to me again about the waiver? I don't think I may not have heard you right.
Can I just
Mary,
jump
go
in
ahead.
before? I think we will need to prepare an item that really goes into how the performance assessment is going to be designed and developed. I think what Ms. Rising put on the table are the various options that we've utilized in the past, as we have one TPA in place and another one coming alongside. But if you can be patient, perhaps we can bring this back maybe as early as next month for discussion as we talk about launching the work on performance assessment for literacy, et cetera.
Thank you.
I'm looking around the table. Yes, Commissioner Brown?
It is a good day indeed. As a member of this commission, I have been a staunch supporter in early childhood education. As you know, there is no downside to this. The people in the field of early childhood education have been doing professional work with learners for a long time. And I think this will make a huge impact on the academy of professional teachers. I think that you will find that adding early childhood educators to the professional workforce not only adds quality and diversity, but also the passion and commitment that you've been hearing today and in the written comments and all along. So I know that I just wanted to weigh in on that with a comment because this is a very good day for the children, the families, and the teachers of California.
Indeed, and I know if you could make a motion, you would want to do that. Yes, Executive Director Sam.
I just wanted to let you all know that we invited Deborah Stipek and Megan Franke to join this meeting in particular because of the mathematics standard and TPEs, and they have been on call for us here in case you had any questions about any particulars within that. And I haven't heard any, but I did want to, if with your indulgence, invite Dr. Stipek if she'd like to make a comment. She has been a chair and a participant in our various work groups since about 2017, Phyllis, 2016, right in there, and served as a member of the master plan for the committee that developed the master plan for early learning and care. So,
Mary, I unmuted myself, so I'm assuming that you can hear me.
Yes.
I can be very brief because I think everything I would have said has been said. I was particularly enthusiastic about the inclusion of math. We've learned a lot in the last few years, really, about the importance of math in creating a foundation for later math learning. California is not doing well in math achievement compared to other states. We're typically in one of either the bottom third or the bottom fourth. And I think many teachers in middle school and up complain that the children just don't have the solid basis of understanding math that they need to be able to master the math that they're supposed to be learning in middle school and high school. So I think what the commission has done, and particularly the inclusion of math, is going to go a long ways toward remedying that problem. So I appreciate very much the time and effort that the commission has put in. This is not to say that literacy is not important, and I think everybody recognizes that, but I'm glad we're beginning to recognize how important math is in children's lives.
Yes, Chair Sloan.
I think we're ready to make a motion, but I wanted to just comment on the fact that our work is evolving always, that there are many of our education partners who have some concerns, and then there are many of our education partners who have commented on so many of the strong foundational pieces that we put into this incredible new credential that we will be offering. And we're going to learn things as we begin implementing this work. We're going to be learning things as we pilot the TPA and programs. I encourage you to be part of that piloting process because you learn so much about the work when you look at evidence of what new teachers are doing in classrooms. I'll also say that standard 4 is a new standard that we have talked about for a while about the diversity, inclusion, and equity. And we should be figuring out how we get that into our other standards. I know we have talked about that. So these are examples of how our work is always evolving based on the professional expertise of our field. And I just want to acknowledge the concerns that we have heard and that this work is continuing. I think with that, I'll make a motion.
Please do.
And our motion is to,
Shall I?
Please.
So do I have a motion that the commission adopt the proposed literacy program standards and TPEs for the multiple subject and single subject credentials, the education specialist credential, and proposed PK3 ECE specialist credential?
Oh,
with the modification to precondition 3. Thank you.
So moved.
I have a motion by Chair Sloan. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Heredia. Is there any further discussion or celebration before we go to the vote? Yes, Amy.
I'm just trying to make certain that we are passing the motion that specifically applies to the PK3 credential.
Did I not say that?
When we listened to the repeat of the motion, we thought perhaps it might be repeating something from 4A. If it's okay as it stands, and we're happy, we just wanted to make sure that we're
So I
doing
have
the right thing.
PK3 ECE specialist credential. Did
All right,
I not
thank you.
say that right? I'm sorry, Phyllis.
Thank you. That's okay. We just wanted to make sure.
We want to get it right after all this time, don't we? So with that, will the recording secretary please call for the vote?
Matt Brown,
Aye.
Jose Cardenas,
Aye.
Juan Cruz,
Aye.
Christopher Davis,
Aye.
Michael De La Torre,
Aye.
Marisol De La Torre Escobedo,
Aye.
Makita Grinnell Shire,
Aye.
Megan Gross,
Aye.
Johanna Harwick,
Aye.
Susan Aradia, Terry Jackson,
Aye.
Bonnie Clark,
Aye.
Monica Martinez,
Aye.
David Simmons,
Aye.
Tina Sloan.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I know.
Please do. Please do. So Chair Sloan, do we want to adjourn the Educator Preparation Committee now?
Yes, please.
Do I need a motion to do so? We're
Recess
going to
it.
recess it till tomorrow morning.
Yes.
Do we need to vote on that?
Nope. That's it. And what I
Back
will
on-
let you know, thank you, Commissioner Grinnell Shire, is that I will now recess the general session. We will continue with our agenda tomorrow. That means that we are going to move item 4C to tomorrow. And when commissioners return from lunch, we will go into closed session and the general session will reconvene at 8:30 tomorrow morning. Commissioners, please return at what time do you all think? 1:15. All right, a whole hour. I know. Yeah. Yes, eat.
I'll see you all tomorrow.